Welcome back again today, everyone. And I'm here again with Sally. We've got another special topic. Today is a special topic on leadership strategies and how to reduce turnover. Very interesting one.
It is. It is. We've been talking a lot about how many businesses are starting to sort of go from strength to strength and really wanting to take on more people, whether it's going from a team of 4 to 10 or, 10 to 50. It's all of a sudden, how do we start to attract the right people for our workplace? How do we start to build our brand when we've been just a small team where things were more measured and we can sort of make sure that it landed where it needed to? When all of a sudden you have 20 or 30 new staff, you've got to really consider what's a good fit. And, and also just the financial costs of recruitment. It's tiring.
Look, it definitely is. It is a situation that thankfully I deal with quite often. A lot of what I do is to build up brands and reputation and to grow businesses. And the negative aspect of that is you do have to sort of look at yourself as a business owner, and you have to acknowledge weaknesses. And that some of these weaknesses are leadership weaknesses. We're not all naturally gifted when it comes to being able to communicate well and being able to lead people, and also in regards to getting people rallied up and getting them, creating that sense of emergency, that sense of camaraderie, so to speak, in regards to just trying to, make everybody happy. And that sort of leads into another issue as well.
Yes.
You can't always make everybody happy, can you, Sally?
You can't. No.
So what are some of the things that you sort of see as well?
I think it's about being clear on your brand and your values. It's about, as much as possible, whoever's in your leadership team, making sure you're on the same page about that. So when you are sitting down to interview people, you're really clear about what it is that they're signing up for and what you're onboarding them to as the culture as well. So that during that probation period, it's really transparent what it is that they are, working towards as not only their job, but also the culture of the workplace. And likewise, that you guys are on the same page as the leadership team. And if there are gaps, as you say, you put your hand up and you get help from services like ours. Yeah,
exactly. And one of the important aspects, and you hit the nail on the head in regards to culture, is that every business has a unique culture. And whenever you hire someone else into that culture, you're adding to that culture, if that makes sense. So, and the benefit of being in Melbourne is we have a really diversified culture, so to speak. So chances are the person that you're hiring is going to come from a different background. It's about incorporating that and utilizing the benefits of each individual, and also acknowledging that, is this person going to fit in this team, which leads to the recruitment aspect. So there's really two aspects of recruitment that's very important for employers. The first one is obviously get the right person for the right job in regards to what they can and can't do. The other important aspect, and we usually use this as the second interview process, would be to make sure from a cultural perspective, and I'm not talking in regards to ethnicity and those types of things, but in regards to personality and how their personality is going to be embedded within the organization. And will that personality get along well with the current personalities within the business? So you may have a situation where everybody's intentions are really, really good, but you've got one person whose personality traits are just so different to the rest of the team that that they just won't be able to get along well as well, which is pretty hard. There's a lot of ways you can overcome that, sort of incorporating the team. As the team is smaller, it's a bit easier because you can all work together. But as the team gets bigger and you start employing managers, and these managers are now taking roles and responsibilities that you yourself, as say the business owner, are doing, you need to make sure that the aspects that you want to portray as well embedded within their personality, which is really, really hard. So that second interview we find is incredibly important. Obviously the recruitment process is very tough and hard to deal with as well, but there's a lot of recruiters out there, really great recruiters that can shortlist. And then the next step would be to just try and find that really strong personality trait that can really benefit your business too, which is a good thing as well. So as a business owner, you may find that you do have skill sets that are lacking. And you may have to compromise in regards to someone's personality in order to get that skill set. Now, that could be a deficiency of your own personality in regards to saying, well, I don't have that skill set on purpose because of my own personality, and we will have to shift as well. But the key aspect of any leader would be to convey that information as well, which leads into another important aspect, which is things like ensuring employees feel as though they're part of a team.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important that we know we're employing people who know enough about themselves as well. They're coming forward knowing what their strengths are, what their areas for growth are, what
Yeah.
have been their key learnings in previous jobs, and are they sort of willing to be a bit vulnerable in sharing that with you as part of a recruitment process in their onboarding?
Yeah.
Because that helps you to think, okay, that might have been a weakness there, but I can see how with the strength of the rest of our team, that'll actually work really well
Exactly.
because we'll be able to bring them alongside in our learnings in that part. And just where we were talking about industry specific, I mean, you're an accountant across so many, industries, and I
Yeah.
get to work in, as an employee counselor in, construction, medical, veterinary, cold chain. It's, there's so many industries that are so specific to the sorts of cultures that they love to have. Working within them. We're not talking ethnicity cultures, we're talking in terms of the ways in which their teams function. So,
Exactly.
veterinary industries, for example, it's a shift working space. They're, dealing with a lot of trauma. They're dealing with, some really heightened people. So they love people with a great sense of humor.
Yeah.
You really need that to work in that industry.
Exactly. Professional services is
Mhm.
really you've got, your dental industries, which obviously a lot of them will probably see you because it's very stressful industries. And the construction industry is a really important one as well, because the talent pool there is interesting. There's certain cultural personality aspects, I'll say, of people within that industry that you can accept. But there are also significant issues within various industries, like, for example, the issues that we are finding in regards to retaining employees in things like the medical industry compared to things like the trades and construction could be completely different.
Yeah.
Because trades and construction might want to make sure they have the RDOs, they might want to make sure that they've got a good working environment, they have their drinks on the Friday, those types of things, and everybody gets along well. There's a bit of leniency there. Whereas in professional services, maybe the complete opposite, where they want to make sure that everybody's doing what they are. Their mindsets are very different. So when you approach personalities, the aspect is, as an accountant, my mindset is very, I'll do this job, I'll move on, do the next job and do that as well.
Yeah.
Whereas in other industries, it's completely different. So just trying to find that aspect of, and of who you can get, who benefits from that as well. In regards to the retention, which we touched on a little bit, but retention of staff is incredibly hard. The competition out there is astronomical and has been for years. One important aspect is to make sure, one, they feel as part of the team, and that's where you'll see people like us to just try and work out, well, what are the aspects of your team first, create that foundation, and then how do we build upon that to create that really strong sense of team spirit. The next would be to not only make them feel as part of the team, but make them feel part of the organization, because the key is you want to make sure that they stay with you as well.
Yeah.
So that could be in the form of various different types of profit share arrangements. That could be in the form of different additional annual leave arrangements, flexibility in the workplace, all of those really things as employers that we worry about that will impact efficiency and effectiveness can actually do the opposite. They can actually increase efficiency and effectiveness. So you might find that providing flexibility to some employees will benefit their productivity, whereas in other employees, they will take advantage of that as well. And it's about finding that balance and that compromise too.
Yeah, it really is. Yes. And I think just in regards to the retention, just the one thing I wanted to add to that is sometimes you do have to call it in a probation period. Sometimes it's not a good fit, and knowing how to sort of navigate that path. We're not employment lawyers. We work alongside some very, very good people who we can, DM us and we can give you some information around those services. But if you're not sure and you've done what you can to sort of bring them on board somebody and really support them into the workplace, but it's just not working out, then it is also about sort of looking after the rest of the team and the organisation, and sometimes just, politely parting ways while that probation period's there. So,
exactly. So I suppose the last topic I wanted to talk about, Sally, was in regards to the costs associated with staff retention and employment. The training costs are vary between business to business. So we may have a situation where one business, you may be able to train them up within a week or a few days. In other businesses, you may be up to 6 to 12 months. And it's important to just make sure that, when you hire that person, especially for those longer periods, and you do call it early on.
Yeah.
Because the longer you leave it, the higher the cost is going to be to your business, because not only are you paying their wage, you're also paying for their training, which is another person's wage, and you've got downtime. And if they leave, then that's a big problem. So to give you an example, is the accounting industry, which I know very well, so purely tax accounting, we might find a situation where it could take up to 18 months to train someone to adequately do a tax return competently, for example, and even a basic one. And that's even with training and a skill set. And throughout the first 6 months, for example, the cost of that employee is quite astronomical.
Yes,
it can be almost 1.5 to 2 times their wage in just that first 6 months. In the second 6 months, you're almost at break even, but you're not definitely not making any money out of that employee within the first 6 months, even up to 12 months. It's not until probably you hit that second or third year where the employee's actually starting to work through, where that employee's actually creating a benefit from a tax perspective.
Your return on investment.
From the tax department in regards to return on the investment for an employee. So it's hard to just look at employees in regards to, an asset and return on investment, but that's one way of looking at it, is to say, well, okay, how am I going to get this return on this particular employee? Again, different industries aren't as, they can just hire and fire. It's not as big of a deal. But once you start getting into those specialized industries, you really have to start focusing to say, is this person a long-term employee, or is this person going to move on within 3 to 6 months? Is this person using me in order to catapult their career?
We're just saying about the people who sometimes are there and they're only there for a short time. It's like their stepping stone onto their next job. Yeah.
Yeah, so in a lot of cases, employees just use the job as a stepping stone.
Yeah.
That is fine. That you can do that. There's no issue associated with that, as long as everyone's open and upfront to say, I'm going to be here for about 2-3 years, then I want to go overseas and travel, or I want to do, my visa's going to expire, or the other options could be, look, I want to progress with my career, and you're not going to provide it for me here, but I do want this as a stepping stone as well. That open and honesty in regards to employers is important. So if there's any employees watching this as well, just be open and honest, because the last thing you want to do is really piss them off, because your reference is really going to be pretty bad. But other than that, that's the last aspect of what I wanted to discuss today.
Yeah, no, fantastic.
Do you have anything else you wanted to?
No, I think those
regarding this
are,
topic?
a couple of things that we see. It's so lovely to work with employers who are at that, that next stage of, we've got some money where we could expand. We can take on 2 or 3 people, and they sort of look to us for a bit of guidance and support around that process. And it's just a joy to be a part of it.
It is. Yeah, it's a very exciting time, but with that excitement comes stresses and costs.
Yes.
And so make sure you hit the nail on the head there. Make sure you got an adequate reserve of funds when you hire employees too, because they're going to have leave entitlements. They're going to have all these additional costs, and then they might not work out, and then you've got to hire someone else as well.
Yeah.
Excellent. Fantastic. Thanks everyone for joining us again today. Again, if you have any questions, just leave them in the comments section. We do listen. We do.
Check in on them.
We do check in on them. If you do have any major questions or anything urgent, feel free to contact myself or Sally as well. Details will be in the description below.
Excellent.
Cheers. Thank you. Bye.